Story 1. The Ghost of Rosevarys. It was a cold, windy night in downtown Detroit. Officer Ted Robertson had just finished a routine domestic violence call in the Delray area. As he walked back to his patrol car, a strange noise caught his attention. It was an eerie, almost mournful sound coming from a nearby abandoned house. Abandoned houses were common in Detroit, but there was something about this one that made his skin crawl. Ted hesitated for a moment, debating whether to investigate. The sound grew louder, more persistent, and his curiosity got the better of him. He approached the dilapidated structure, the wind howling through the broken windows, carrying with it a sense of unease. A flashlight in hand, he cautiously approached a dirty window. Shining the light inside, he froze in fear. There, in the darkness, was a ghost, pale and transparent. It hovered in the darkness, its eyes seeming to bore into his soul. Ted's heart pounded in his chest, his breathing coming in short gasps. He tried to make sense of what he was seeing, but the fear was too great. The apparition resembled an old photograph he had seen of Rosevarys, the infamous Delray witch who had been imprisoned for a series of gruesome murders. Ted gathered his courage, took a step closer. The air grew cold, and a chill ran down his spine. In the yard, he found an old newspaper clipping about Rose, confirming his worst fears. As he turned to leave, the air seemed to thicken, and he felt a weight pressing down on him. A whisper, faint but unmistakable, echoed his name.
Shh! Don't be loud.
Story 2. The Cemetery Mansion. Our neighborhood was the epitome of suburban tranquility, a place where danger seemed an alien concept. Chaz and I, however, were troublemakers, always looking for thrills in our sleepy town. One of our favorites was an old mansion on the edge of a large, long-abandoned cemetery. Its eerie presence loomed over the graves, a sinister sentinel that had witnessed countless teenage adventures. One summer night, after being stood up by some girls, Chaz and I decided to blow off some steam by throwing rocks at the mansion. It was a childish act, but the perfect outlet for our frustrations. We walked to the mansion, the night air thick with humidity and the smell of dense vegetation. The moon cast long, eerie shadows as we approached the mansion, the broken windows and twisted vines creating a haunting silhouette. Chaz threw the first rock, shattering a fourth-floor window with a deafening crash. Inspired, I aimed for a second-floor window and succeeded. Chaz then turned his sights to the loft window, the highest point of the mansion. After several failed attempts, he finally hit it, and we both watched in amazement as the glass shattered. But our victory was short-lived. From the darkness of the loft window, a rock flew back toward us, landing at our feet. We recognized it immediately. It was the rock Chaz had thrown. Confusion and fear gripped us. Could the other kids be playing a prank on us? We decided to find out. With a sly grin, we quietly approached the mansion and slipped in through the half-open front door. It was pitch black inside, the air thick with the smell of mold and decay. We climbed the creaking stairs to the 4th floor, a place we had never ventured before. At the top, a small wooden door that seemed to lead to the attic. Chaz opened the door, and a foul stench hit us like a physical force. Inside, a white pentagram was drawn on the floor, surrounded by unlit candles. A sense of dread washed over me as I noticed a closet door. Chaz seemed curious, but I was terrified. I turned to leave and saw 2 cloaked figures at the foot of the stairs, their faces hidden in the shadows. Panic set in. We heard more footsteps coming up the stairs behind us. In a desperate move, Chaz climbed out of the broken attic window onto the roof, and I followed. The roof was pitch black, and one wrong step and we could have fallen. We sprinted toward the entrance we knew, but the hatch was locked. A deep, menacing voice called from inside the house. They went that way. Without thinking, I stomped on the hatch with all my might. It opened, and I fell, catching the ladder just in time. Chaz followed, and we dashed down the stairs and out the back door, jumping over the cemetery fence. We hid among the gravestones, watching for cloaked figures to appear, frantically searching everywhere. We crept deeper into the cemetery until we were sure we were safe, then headed home. We never returned to that mansion, the memory of the cloaked figures and the pentagram seared into our minds. Whatever ritual we had interrupted was something beyond our understanding, a dark secret that would forever haunt our nightmares. Story 3. Rhythm Rider's discovery in abandoned house. Rhythm Rider and his partner, Z's Clark, are seasoned urban explorers, but their visit to an abandoned house in Cleveland, Ohio, is unlike anything they've ever experienced before. The house, untouched for decades, harbors a tragic secret. The night is dark and quiet as they approach the house. The windows dark and empty. The air smells of decay and damp earth. They step inside, flashlights illuminating the ruins of a once happy home. The furniture is dusty, and the walls are lined with family photos. As they explore further, they find more disturbing remains. A body smear and a walker, indicating that an elderly woman died alone after a fall. The sight sends a chill down their spines. The thought of someone dying alone, forgotten by the world, is tragic. In the living room, they found more personal items, a stack of old letters, a wicker basket, and a photo album. The photos were of a family, full of hope and happiness. The sight of them in such a place was a stark reminder of the passing of time and the fragility of life. As they left the house, the images of body stains and walkers remained in their minds. The house, with its tragic history, was a poignant reminder of the importance of checking on older relatives. The thought of someone dying alone, forgotten by the world, was a sobering reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind closed doors. He hurried back to the car, each step heavy with fear, feeling as if invisible eyes were watching his every move. His hands shook as he started the engine, and he drove away, glancing nervously in the rearview mirror. The haunting image of Rose Veras remained with him, a constant reminder of the dark secrets lurking in the abandoned places of Detroit. Ted never returned to that house, but the memory of that night haunted him, a shadow lingering at the edges of his mind. Story 4. Shark Tank. Luke McPherson has always been fascinated by the eerie allure of abandoned places. As an urban explorer, he has seen many strange and disturbing things, but nothing could have prepared him for the abandoned wildlife wonderland zoo in Victoria, Australia. It has been abandoned since 2012, and rumors of strange discoveries have piqued his interest. On an overcast afternoon, Luke ventures into the dilapidated zoo, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The place is eerily quiet, the only sounds being the distant rustling of leaves and the occasional creak of rotting wood as he explores. A foul chemical smell leads him to a dark room in the center of the zoo. In the center of the room is a large glass tank filled with a murky liquid. Luke's flashlight cuts through the darkness, and what he sees inside turns his blood cold. Suspended in formaldehyde was a great white shark, its lifeless eyes staring into space. The shark, later named Rosie, had been dead for years, but its presence was unsettling. The sight of such a powerful predator preserved in such a state was both fascinating and horrifying. The smell of chemicals was overwhelming, and Luke noticed with a panic that the tank was leaking fluid. The silence in the room was oppressive, broken only by the occasional drip of leaking fluid. Luke's heart pounded as he took in the strange scene, feeling both frightened and terrified. The shark, once a powerful predator, now floated helplessly in its glass prison, a chilling reminder of the zoo's dark past. The thought of what else might lurk in the shadows made him quicken his pace. He left the zoo with the haunting image of Rosie's lifeless eyes etched into his mind, a chilling memory that haunted his dreams for many nights to come. Story 5. Hospital of Horrors. New Orleans Charity Hospital was once a beacon of hope and healing, a place where lives were saved and miracles performed. But after Hurricane Katrina, it became a monument to decay and death, abandoned and decrepit. Urban explorers, drawn by the thrill of the unknown, ventured into its dark hallways, but few were prepared for the horrors they would find. One stormy evening, a group of explorers gathered at the hospital's entrance, their flashlights piercing the darkness. The air was thick with the smell of mold and decay, a grim reminder of the devastation wrought by the storm. The eerie silence was broken only by the creaking of unstable floors and the distant drip of water. As they made their way through the building, they stumbled upon an old storage room. Inside, their flashlights revealed a grisly sight. Old blood samples and body parts preserved in jars, covered in dust and cobwebs. The sight was stomach-churning, a grim reminder of the lives that once depended on this place. The flickering beams of the flashlights cast eerie shadows, making the scene all the more horrifying. As they ventured deeper into the hospital, the explorers felt an oppressive presence, as if the spirits of the past were watching them. The old operating rooms, with their rusted surgical instruments and broken tables, seemed frozen in time, holding the pain and suffering of countless patients. The air was thick with an uneasy silence, broken only by their own rasping breaths. In one room, they found an old operating table, its leather straps still intact, stained with years of blood and sweat. The thought of the countless surgeries performed here, the lives saved and lost, is overwhelming. The hospital, once a place of hope, is now a haunted house of horrors, dark secrets waiting to be discovered by those brave or foolish enough to enter. The explorers leave the hospital with heavy hearts, the weight of what they have seen weighing down on them. Haunting images of blood-stained tables and ghostly operating rooms still haunt them, a chilling reminder of the hospital's dark past.